Hey guys, and welcome back to this week's Wheel to Wheel Hotlap, proudly brought to you by Hybrid Ag. That's right, it's wet, and you know where we are. We're at the Redbull Ring. It's a wheel to wheel tradition, and we can't seem to get away from the wet ring. To show us the way around Redbull Ring Short, I'm going to throw it over to Showman, and then we're going to come back and talk about how this week is going to play out. Take it away, Showman.
So here we are at Redbull Ring Short in the KTM Xbow. The forecast for race 1 is for a bit of wet weather, so I've set this lap using the torrential rain settings. So as we start the lap down the main straight, you want to avoid any standing water. Looking for the 150 board, you're going to brake just after it. Out here, down into 4th, briefly use 3rd just to slow the car up a little bit, back up into 4th. Going to hit that apex, and that's where you're going to pick up the throttle because the car's pointing where you want it to go. You can use all of this exit curb because the car's not going to slide around too much. Again, looking out for any standing water. Coming up to this corner, you're going to use the end of this rock section on the left hand side as your brake marker. So we're going to put it back into 3rd to slow it up a little bit, back up to 4th. Now you can either hug the white line on the inside here, which is probably the dry line, or you can also hang it out wide and then cut back in late against the curb to get a bit of a better exit and position your car a little bit better for the next corner. Okay, so throttle control through here. You want to end up in the middle of the road, maybe slightly further to the right. Throttle control, you can get up on this curb on the left hand side, and then you'll see as we're coming out of the corner there's a bit of a rise in the road. That's where you can pick up the throttle. In this lap I picked it up a little bit early and got a little bit taily, so I had to back off a little bit, but normally you can just go flat. Avoiding the curb on the right because that is extremely slippery. You can use the curb on the left. No dramas. Now coming up to this corner, you're going to look for the 100 board. That's what you'll use to brake. You want to, when you're heavy on the brakes, you don't want to steer too much, so you sort of want to position the car so you're aiming at the corner, and then once you release the brake, then you can turn into the corner. Okay, so sort of steady on the throttle. About where that sign is probably where you can start picking up again. You just want to make sure you don't understeer to the left hand side. Okay, so you can still use all of this curb. Don't use too much of it because you'll get a penalty and it's also slippery in the wet. Using the end of that red section as the braking marker, you're going to flick it back into 3rd, make the apex, back up into 4th, and then drive out of the corner. There we go. At the apex, pick up the throttle, drive it out of the corner. You can use the curb on the left, it's not too bad, and then power down the straight. So that's a lap in the wet. So the Xbow seems to handle very well in the wet. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Showman. It's been great to see the Division 1 drivers really give up their time and show us the way around these great tracks each and every week. Now this week is tinged with a little bit of sadness. We get to say goodbye to our little friend, the KTM Xbow. Some people are going to mourn the loss, some people are going to cheer. Which one are you? But this week, the KTM is going to be a submarine. It is going to be very wet. The open cockpit is going to fill with water, and we're going to have paddling pools aplenty inside the cockpits of the KTM Xbow. Race 1, 6 laps in very wet conditions, and race 2, 17 laps. Looks like it's going to be clearing, but wet tyres will always be available for these races. Soft tyres, mandatory, well not mandatory, but soft tyres will be available for the first race. Medium tyres will be available for the second race. But, you know, these KTMs, they've been great. They've thrown up some fantastic racing, and they've really been a joy to throw around some of these tighter, twistier tracks that we don't normally get to race in at Wheel to Wheel. Qualifying this week, 1 10-minute quali, 1 reverse grid race for the second race. More of a standard traditional wheel to wheel format here for qualifying. The big story is going to be the wet. Who's going to cope with the KTM in the wet? Who's going to dominate? Who's going to have an advantage? Who's going to run the strategy? Who's going to run soft tyres when they're on a drying track? Who's going to run wets? Intermediate's going to come into play. All these questions will need to be answered. You know where to find it. You know when to tune in. It's 5:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Wheel to Wheel YouTube, Wheel to Wheel Facebook. You know where to find it. You know what you want to do. Tune in. I'm excited. You're excited. Let's go.